for a month. He brought that $43 home, and we had our own garden that we watered from dugouts. Dugouts were great big places where you take the dirt away, and then we laid stones on the bottom of this little pond, we call it, at the bottom, and came up the sides. We had to go and find the stones which were in the northern part of Saskatchewan, but we brought them home, and we made these places that were so good, and we applied. I guess every kid really applied themselves.
Yes.
And we got one boy had $5 in his pocket and started walking, and he made his own. He got his own clothes together, and even in the spare time, we had meals.
Yes.
It was called, I went to Saskatchewan Hall. That was a place where the girls went. The boys went to Coppell Valley. It was like their place where they slept. And we slept in another place. So it was such an experience for me, because you see, I just grew up on a farm, and we worked very hard, and we didn't get hardly any crops for near 10 years. And so we grew things up, watered them, and we got our stuff in for the winter, and we planted potatoes, a lot of potatoes. Ooh. So we had potatoes for our was the main part of the meal.
Okay. Okay.
It was potatoes, lots of dishes of potato, big dish that we loved to scalp. Was it scalp? Oh, what was it? It was we put things together. It's good, and it was amazing how we all dug in, helped each other out. Anybody was sick and we didn't know what they do, we'd put them in the car, take them into town, which was 8 miles away, and then we'd try and gather enough money to pay the doctor, so it helped the person that was sick. Things like that. I tell you what, everybody was a good person trying to do. It seemed that way to me, anyway.
Work together.
Yeah, it was, and when those 10 years were up, and the crops started coming in, every year they came in. And when I went to university.
Yes.
And of course, it was only about around $40 rent that we get places to, stay.
Yes.
And then he gets simple meals, but very, very healthy.
Yes.
There was the greens, like radishes, lettuce. What was the third thing? Lettuce, radishes, and what was the onions? Oh, onions. Yeah, you put the onion bulbs in, and they come up with just beautiful big onions. And we used to have onions with our meals, like slices of them. I thought they were great, and they were healthy for you too.
Yes.
Everything we did was good and healthy. Didn't have any preservatives in those days. And everybody raised chickens.
Okay.
See, my mother, she canned a lot of chicken, like
Yes.
in these glass jars. And she knew how to do it so well, and nothing spoiled at all. Because
Yes.
then these chickens were all had to take the feathers all off. That that meant boiling water that we had to boil it and put it over the chickens and then pull the feathers out.
Mm-hmm.
Then our part was getting little pin feathers. There were
Oh.
little things that we had to come out in the next thing. And then we'd cut the chicken open. And we'd take all the insides out.
Mm-hmm.
And we would save the heart and the liver. What was the other thing?
The gizzard.
These were were inside of the
Okay.
chicken,
Yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
we took them out and we made meals out of them,
Okay.
and they were healthy
Yes.
things.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother was she was teaching all the other women how to do these things because it made them come from the east,
Yes.
eastern Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And came out west and get a break for it, but nothing happened for a long time. But you know, on Saturday night, we would, well, no, not so much Saturday, it was Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
We'd go to the school, and there were some good musicians right amongst our own crowd,
Yes.
and they played the good old dance
All
teams.
right.
And we played. They played and we danced.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And but when I look back on it, you know, we all just had a good time.
Yes.
And when they were so poor they couldn't get much. But my mother was so good. My dad could go out and get work. He was just a little guy, and
Yes.
he got on the tractors or they drove the teams of horses, and away we go.
Woohoo! You had an art? You had a horse?
Huh?
You had a horse growing up?
How hard?
A horse. What
Yeah.
is the name of your horse growing up?
Our house?
Your horse. Was it Victor? What is the name of your horse?
Oh, my horse.
Yeah, your horse.
Oh, yes. Oh, he was a wonderful horse. He would turn his head around to see. He wouldn't get up because he didn't want to hurt anybody. So we all got out of the car. And then I was the oldest of the group, and I had to drive this horse to school.
Okay.
And my family was Edward, and I think there was somebody else who were looking after. And then we had to me it was a great time, but it was not for our parents because they didn't have enough money.
Yes.
But what they did do, they used the money that they did very well. My mother, she was a genius at stretching things.
All right.
Made her own socks, made my nice woolen skirts
Yes.
that kept me warm, and even she even got a coat that was. I think we went to a secondhand store right in Regina, and we'd go to the back where the older clothes were, and pick out things. We did all those things to save money.
Yes.
And we did our own cooking. We did our own baking. We did our own everything, but I'm telling you, we all worked hard.
Yes.
And I was just a little slip of a thing. It was anyway. It didn't make any difference because I wanted to get my degree. I wanted to be a nurse,
Yes.
and that's what I did. I went in first year. I said, "Your nurse's course." I read it all over, and so then looked at them. Yeah, Daddy says, I can take. You can go. I'll send you for 1 year.
Yes.
So and all right, Daddy, I'll do my best. And so that's what I did. We would go out in the fields and pick our own stuff, whatever it was. It was, but my mother and father saved enough money for me when I got good marks that first year. Said we just have to send you with these kind of marks you got, and so second year I went, and I did very well that year.
Mm-hmm.
I got 2.5 years right in the hospital, and then 2.5 years at the university.
Okay.
So it made it a 5-year course.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to, I washed my own clothes, I ironed and pressed them,
Mm-hmm.
and let me see, we helped each other out. When anybody was in trouble of any kind, we'd help the person out.
Yes.
And it was tremendous. Lots of people didn't have hardly anything to eat, for instance. If they hadn't sold, if they didn't have money to buy the seeds, they had the seeds from last year, so they kept everything that was left over. It was spreading more and more. We had to save our stuff, and that's exactly what we did. We saved everything we could get our hands on.
Yes.
And we helped each other out. That was the secret of the success of helping each other, living the Christian life, really.
Absolutely.
It was his, and Daddy, he was an elder at the church,
Mm-hmm.
and we went to church every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
An old car. Or a truck. No, I guess it was a truck that we had. An old truck. And then we used that old truck to bring in wood, to bring in coal. My dad and mother, they worked very hard. And of course, they made sure that Edward, my brother, and I, we worked very hard too.
Yes. Yes.
But I didn't do my homework after having one day of like going to school. So what did I do? What did I do?
It's okay. Take your time.
Yeah, we went into the fields. We helped our father. They had sheaves in those days, and we had to stook them. You call it stooking, and you put the sheaves and the stooking. Yeah, sheaves was, and put them up high like that, and then you put two right across each one, each pile of food.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot of work, but you know, we never thought of it much as hard work. We just figured that's what we're supposed to do.
Being obedient, right?
Huh?
being obedient.
Oh, yeah. And and then it got when we got our first bumper crop, we just didn't know what to do. So they closed the schools down for 2 days to get this big harvest off,
Uh-huh.
and we got that into granaries. We sold it. And we saved so much seed for to put in the ground in the springtime.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things we had to do. Then we had to milk the cows, and we had to bring the milk in, and we just everything we got,
Yes.
we just thank God for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think is we did so well is because every Sunday we were in church,
Yes.
and we thank God for what we got.
Mm-hmm.
And 1 year, of course, it was a year, several years that we didn't get anything, but we went in there and we said, Lord, we prayed to the Lord, the whole
Yes.
congregation,
Giving thanks.
and yeah, and and then that when the crops got started with lots of granaries that were getting filled with wheat,
Wow.
oats, barley, and we got up at so that's where I get that idea. We all got up about 4 a.m.
Yes.
every day,
Wow.
and we got the cow's milk.
Mm-hmm.
And the pigs are all we wanted. They were good meat eaters. Anyway, and let me see, pigs and the horses were my pets, and they were so good.
Mm-hmm.
I would curry them and brush them with the horse brush
Mm-hmm.
every day, and they loved that.
Yeah.
That's what I used to do.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the thing. Well, it was okay. That's fine.
And how old are you now?
Uh,
How old are you now?
well, let me see now. I was in high school. I was 14, 15, 16.
Okay.
Well, 16, 17.
Okay.
And I studied, and I got real good grades, and then they had to figure out what I wanted to do. What was I going to do with my life? And I wanted to be a nurse. That's what I talked about it for years and years.
Yes.
And so, and we would go in, and we would get $5 a month in those days.
Wow.
And that was by our scribblers,
Mm-hmm.
pencils, and a pen, and a ruler.
Oh.
And if we had a little extra money, we would buy a nice box for our pens and our pencils, and with little rulers that would fit into the what do you call them? The little boxes.
Okay.
They were
So what advice you have for the young people now, for the millennium?
for advice?
Yeah, what advice you have for the young people of today?
Well, if you want to know how to do things, you start by starting at the bottom, and you work all the way up, like getting up early in the morning, clean the barn out, make sure the animals got their food,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'd walk to school.
Yes.
And after we did that, and we sometimes, if the horses were sick, or my loving horse that I just, I cried for a week
Yeah.
because he got an infection in
Mm-hmm.
his leg just from the dust and things
Mm-hmm.
was blowing around.
Yeah.
And oh, yeah, I thought the end of the world had come, and
You were sad.
because the horses and everything, they just needed help,
Okay.
and I looked after them when they were well, and then when they got sick or anything like that, they
Do
didn't
you
have
know
a
how old you are?
huh.
Do you know how old you are now?
Oh,
How old are you?
where am I at?
Yeah.
Well, let me see. 14, 15,
Like
16,
now, how
7.
old are you now?
Oh, right now?
Yeah, right.
N-
Right now.
n- aren't I going to be 98, isn't it?
You're 98.
Hmm.
Yes. Wow. Wow.
But, uh, but mother, she had no training in nursing or anything, but she just had a knack to know how to do everything. And because she had 6 sisters
Yes.
before her, she was the seventh daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was 4 brothers after that.
Mm-hmm.
So that dear, can you imagine that dear mother washing the clothes? Yeah, we have to do a lot of them with just a tub
Yeah.
and a board,
Yes.
and hang them out on the line, which
Mm-hmm.
is they always put line up 2 or 3 rows of it, and to get them all, we believed in sunshine and
Mm-hmm.
fresh air.
God's nurses, huh?
Oh, the great disinfectant and great yes, they were just great. Just be satisfied.
Yes.
When anybody got they didn't. Well, I'm not going to live in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the terrible depression we came through. Well, we got such great crops.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the time, let me see, 45.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was about I went
Okay.
like 16.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Uh,
It was a pleasure just learning from your wisdom. And we can all learn from you. Thank you so much. And God bless you. 98. Wow, that's a blessing, huh?
well, I give credit to my dear mother and my dear father. My father was a small man, but he had great big hands and
Yes.
feet, so that he worked with both of these things God gave him,
Wow.
and he brought the wheat in, wheat, oats, barley, and then we
Thank you
tried. What
guys for
was it? We
watching.
said
This is
I'll
all for
never grow that
today. And
again.
there's so
It
much
was it
more.
was
And Auntie Angel,
flax, I think it
Faith Food
was.
Family. This is part of the aspect of family. So thank you so much. We get so much knowledge from this 98-year-old, and there's so much to learn from her. She's packed with wisdom, and not only that, do you realize how much she's smiling through it all? And smiling, laughing is as good as a medicine, right?
Pardon me.
Laughter is as good as a
Oh,
medicine.
we had some great days when we used the old schoolhouse. It had a place where we would have dances
Wow.
or parties. Just all the folks come in,
Mm-hmm.
and some could. play this instrument like an accordion, guitar, or banjo, whatever they had at home. They brought into the school, and they played for the dances.
Thank you so much, Gail. We have part two. It's coming up shortly. Keep watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share this video.